So guys, Bitcoin ETF, that has been a talk of the town lately ever since BlackRock recently filed their application for the first BTC ETF, and that made the public crazy. They thought it's coming, it's the first crypto ETF, and that sent BTC ripping. But what they don't know actually is that crypto ETFs had actually existed for some time already. In this video, we're going to talk about the top 6 dividend ETFs that serves as crypto's foundation. So I think a lot of people forget that everything that they have right now are built on those that came before us. All the buildings that you see, everything. And it's no different for crypto. Crypto actually is building on existing infrastructure. And smart money knows this. Smart money knows that crypto actually take a lot of investor money from the tech giants like Google, Samsung, Sony, and a lot of people don't know that they also take money from Berkshire Hathaway. That's right, Warren Buffett's company. So yeah, it's the same guy that shits on crypto. What he does is he uses Berkshire Hathaway, which is a holding company, to invest in crypto through the companies that it holds. And in this video, there's going to be one ETF that pulls out all the stops, but I gotta warn you that it is expensive, which is why we're going to talk about its alternatives, which is much more manageable. So number 1 on the list, we have QUAL, iShares MSCI USA Quality Factor ETF. Now, this focuses on large to mid-cap US stocks with stable earnings and low debt to equity. They have an expense ratio of 0.15%. Their annual dividend rate is $1.76, with their annual dividend yield being at 1.32%. And we can't talk about any ETF without looking at their performance. The performance is really good here at 11.11% on the 5-year, which compared to the category average, it beats it like crazy. One other thing we always have to look at is holdings here. Now, this is what I like to see, NVIDIA being the top holding, because without NVIDIA's chips, we can't really support the metaverse, crypto, AI, things like that. Also, they also hold Google, Alphabet Inc. Class A shares, and I'll explain why this is important. So if you've been following this channel, you know that I am a big fan of THETA. Now, I am not the only one, because under THETA validator partners, they include Samsung, Sony, Google, and CAA. Now, I'm not going to go into details here, but Google did make a fantastic bet when they bought YouTube. And how I see it, THETA is kind of like the blockchain version of YouTube, except they do more. They're YouTube and their content delivery networks. Now, I'm not gonna go into details here, but if you want to learn more about what THETA is, then please be sure to check out this video that I made here. But not everything is golden and rosy. I mean, Google did invest about $1.5 billion into blockchain companies. I think that basically all of them turned out to be rug pulls. Now, aside from Google, QUAL also invests in Apple, Microsoft, and Meta, all of which are involved in the AI arms race right now. And what's important about this is I think that AI will become married to crypto at some point due to Web3 gaming. And what's important is that when it comes to gaming, we need micropayments, and micropayments is easiest and cheapest to facilitate with crypto. Now, our number 2 fund is XLK, Technology Select Sector Spider Fund. They invest in market segments like IT services, telecoms, and semiconductors. And this one is for you, specifically if you're unsure about which niche to invest in. Their expense ratio is 0.10%. Dividend and valuation, the annual dividend rate is $1.36. Annual dividend yield is 0.79%. Taking a look at performance, they perform much better than the last one because their 5-year return, the important 5-year return, is 20.43%. When you take a look at their holdings, we see that Apple and Microsoft basically carries this portfolio. They make up almost half of this portfolio. The other companies that I see that might have anything to do with crypto is, of course, NVIDIA, Accenture, AMD, Intel, and Qualcomm. Now stick with me here because later on, remember that number 1 ETF that I told you about that is expensive? This one actually replicates that. So I think we can agree that all of 2023, crypto has been cold and nobody's interested in it, as Rob from my Discord would like to put it. Now, I'm in my early 30s now and I'm kind of an old soul and I'm very, very conservative. And I like to think where smart money is moving their money. So what I think is that a lot of them are like me. They're older, they have money, and they want to be safe. So they are moving money into into big tech companies or companies that they find stable, like Microsoft, who you might not know put a lot of money into blockchain companies, one of them being Consensus. Now, if you haven't already done so, please be sure to sign up for Moomoo and Webull using the link below, because you're gonna get free stocks. And a good thing that you can do is add the ETFs that I've been telling you into your watch list so you can keep them top of mind, because if you don't, you're gonna forget about them. Now, number 3 on the list is iShares Russell 1000 Growth ETF, or IWF. Now, they have an expense ratio of 0.18%. Taking a look at their dividends, they pay an annual dividend rate of $2.06 with an annual dividend yield of 0.76%. Now, taking a look at their performance, 14.04%. I mean, not as good as the last one we saw, but when we take a look at their holdings, we can see that they also have kind of the same similar holdings as what we saw last, but they're a little bit more diversified because Apple and Microsoft doesn't take half of their portfolio. Other notable holdings include Nvidia, Tesla, Alphabet or Google, and Meta. Now, I mentioned Tesla because we're really not quite sure what Elon is doing, but he is very pro crypto, and I think he is using Twitter as a testing ground for what he can do with crypto and how he can incorporate that into his businesses. And that includes Tesla. Now, Invesco QQQ doesn't need any introduction because they've basically been around since 1999. Now, if we take a look at their expense ratio, 0.20%, quite high. Annual dividend rate, $2.15. Annual dividend yield, 0.59%. So that's kind of like the lowest one that we've seen so far. So if you take a look at their performance, 16.45%. So it's definitely not the best that we've seen so far. And if you take a look at their holdings, similar to the others that we saw, they all have kind of Microsoft and Apple making up a bulk of their portfolio, but this one again is not half of their portfolio at least. So if we compare apples to apples, I'd actually prefer our last one, IWF, because it's cheaper, they pay almost the same dividend, they have a lower expense ratio, and they hold basically almost the same companies. Growing up, I used to go grocery shopping with my dad, and I remember that he's the type of guy, like I think most people are, that cares a lot about brand names. So when he goes buy ketchup, he buys the Heinz. He doesn't go and buy the no-name Walmart ketchup. Look at the ingredients, they're both made of tomatoes and ingredients that you can't understand or name, but that's how things are. And I think it's the same with ETFs. Just go look into the companies that your ETFs are holding, and you'll find that a lot of them are holding the same thing in exactly the same amount or proportion. So it's really fascinating, but just get this, if you're gonna get one thing from this video, the market doesn't price things logically, they price things emotionally. So you can find a lot of deals out there. For example, 5 on our list is Vanguard Information Technology ETF. Now, I don't think this needs an introduction because they've been around for around 20 years already, since 2004. The expense ratio is 0.10%. When it comes to dividend and valuations, and dividend rate is $3.08. Their dividend yield, 0.71%. Now, stick with me here because I'm going to show you right now how you can get this fund for basically $300 cheaper. Now, if we go to performances, their 5-year return is 19.64%. It seems similar to what we've seen before. And their holdings is basically Apple and Microsoft. They carry this entire portfolio, making up almost half of this portfolio. When did I say this before? Well, I said this when we were talking about XLK. This also makes up half of the portfolio. And remember, when we look at performance, 20%. So basically, this is the cheaper version of this. And you can compare apple to apples, the holdings look almost exactly the same as XLK. Now, bringing up our last and final, the number 1 ETF that I could recommend that is overpriced is SPY. Now, we don't need to talk about this one or introduce it because its inception, 1993, so it's only 2 years younger than me. Expense ratio is much better than what we had before for VGT coming in at 0.09%. Dividend valuation, $6.52 for the rate, 1.49% for the yield. Their 5-year return is 11.48%, which is significantly lower than what we saw with Vanguard's performance. So when it comes to 5-year return, not that good. But holdings are basically similar, right? Apple, Microsoft make up the bulk of it, but not all of it. This one is actually a very well diversified fund. So it's basically the same as others, but it includes something that the others don't have, which includes Berkshire Hathaway's company, which is Warren Buffett's company. And I'm gonna talk about how that is already invested in crypto, though most people don't know about it, a little bit later in this video. So Berkshire Hathaway is a holding company. What that means is that it holds other companies, one of them being NV Energy or Nevada Energy. And this company services 90% of the electricity for Nevada. That's the entire state, guys. What you might not know is that NV Energy actually is partnered with Energy Web, which is a blockchain company for renewable energy. So when people say that they are not invested in crypto, dig a little deeper and you might find a different story. Now, I'm not gonna go into Energy Web here, but if you want to know more about it, you can check out the video that I made here. But if you guys want exposure to it in a riskless way, the best way to do that is to buy SPY, which basically encompasses everything.